first point man for the Libyan opposition during the 2011 revolution, and then as her ambassador. And she spoke about the deep personal loss when he was murdered. Yet there is no record she spoke to him in the year leading up to the attack.
Did you ever personally speak to him after you swore him in May? Yes or no, please?
Yes, I believe I did. But
and when was that?
I don't recall.
Because there are no call logs with him. We have no record that you had any conversations with the ambassador after you swore him in and before he died, and you were his boss.
Mrs. Clinton also testified that every possible step was taken to help the Americans in Benghazi that night. But at that time of the attack, Mrs. Clinton had very limited communication with the president and his senior military advisors who were responsible for any attempted rescue.
Did you meet with the president that night?
I talked with the president. I did not meet with him.
How many times did you talk to the president?
I talked to the president that evening. That was the only time I talked with him on the 11th.
Did you meet with Secretary Panetta?
No, I did not.
Did you speak to Secretary Panetta?
The next day.
Did you talk with General Dempsey?
The next morning I did.
We also learned today that there were 600 separate requests from Stevens and the group in Benghazi for additional security in that year leading up to the attack, but virtually nothing was done. And on the day of the assault, the terrorists walked in unencumbered, set fire, and killed Stevens and Sean Smith as well, Megan.
Wow. Catherine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Joining me now to react, Robert Zimmerman, a Clinton supporter and DNC. After she claims they now knew it was a terrorist attack and had nothing to do with the video. Listen.
No matter how offensive such a video is, there is no justification for violence. There is no justification for attacking and killing innocent people. In this case, in Benghazi, innocent Americans, including an ambassador who had done so much to help the Libyan people.
And with all that being said, from Jay Carney and all the information that was out there.
15.
Seems to me that night you had three options, Secretary. You could tell the truth, tell them it was a terrorist attack. You could say, you know what, we're not quite sure, but you picked a third option. You picked the video narrative, and you did it because Libya was supposed to be, pointed out, this great success story for the Obama White House and the Clinton State Department.
That was Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan pressing Secretary Clinton during today's Benghazi hearing, which just wrapped up a few minutes ago. The congressman joins me now. Congressman, thank you for being here tonight. And so I know you've been busy, but we've been discussing for the better part of the last half hour that email that you spent most of your time discussing with Hillary Clinton, where she says to the Egyptian Prime Minister, we know the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest.
Right.
Is that a smoking gun in your view?
Well, it certainly puts to bed this whole narrative that they ran with, and it all started with her. So, you know, you can't say one thing publicly to the American people, to the taxpayers, and then say something else different privately. And that's what she did, and the truth was what she said privately. All the evidence supported a terrorist attack. None of the evidence pointed to this video-inspired narrative.
Okay, but let me stop you there.
Let
me stop you there. What she said to you today was that night, we had information, we had a claim of responsibility from an al-Qaeda affiliated group. The next morning, they retracted that claim. So things changed.
Yeah, but it still doesn't mean a video caused it. I mean, that's the point. It wasn't the film, right? There was no protest, there was no demonstration, there was no video-inspired protest, no video-inspired demonstration. Chris Stevens walked the diplomat to the front gate 1 hour before the attack happened. He didn't report any protest because there wasn't one.
She said, let's just have the back and forth because the audience didn't get to see it. But she said in response to that, that she did believe it was a video, that others believed it was a demonstration caused by a video, and it wasn't until they got to review the security tapes from the consulate on September 18th that the security footage arrived at CIA saying there were no protests, that they revisited their earlier assessment.
Well, then, Megan, why'd she tell a different story to the Egyptian prime minister? Why'd she tell a different story to her family? And why did her public story stay the same throughout the entire week, right? It stayed the same. On the 14th, we did another one. Jay Carney says it wasn't a pre-planned attack. The same day, the experts in Libya said it was a well-planned attack. Exactly opposite statements. And that happens to be the same day, by the way, that we had the now famous talking points that Ben Rhodes authored, where he said it is a video. We want to focus on that because we can't have it be a broader policy failure. You know why they couldn't have it be a broader policy failure? Because they were 56 days before an election, and this was a key theme. That's the whole point, and the American people understand it, but that email, or excuse me, that call to the Egyptian prime minister makes it crystal clear.
Well, let's talk about that because, you know, our information is that you guys did not have that in prior investigations. Why haven't we heard about that or seen that exchange she had prior to today?
Because that's the pace of this State Department and this administration in getting us the documents. Mr. Gowdy's been very clear about. The chairman's been, if they would help us get the information that we should have had a long, long time ago, that would make this investigation go so much faster. Here's one other thing that happened. We asked Secretary Clinton, we know the FBI is looking at your server. If they find information that deleted emails or whatever, if they find emails that are relative to our investigation, will you get those to us, or will you allow a neutral third party, like a retired federal judge, to look at that? And you know what she said? She wouldn't agree to that. She wouldn't agree to that.
Okay, but
if
listen,
we want to get to the truth, help us out.
That begs the question of what she's been saying all along, and what Kevin McCarthy said. I mean, he is on record, and it could not be much clearer that he thinks this is a partisan hit job meant to bring down her poll numbers. I know you on the committee say it's not true, but he's not the only one. Some other guy affiliated with the committee came out and suggested that's the case. And so a lot of the American people tonight are looking at this saying it's in one ear and out the other because this is about presidential politics and not about Benghazi.
What did you see partisan from the questions we asked? We're trying to get to the truth. Look, I disagree with what some of my colleagues have said. I think that was wrong. I don't think that's the focus. It never's been the focus. The chairman's been clear. We've been clear. And you could see this hearing today for yourself. What was partisan about that? What's partisan about she telling the Egyptian prime minister one thing and telling the American people something else? That's not partisan. That's her statements. She started the whole video narrative at 10:08, the night of the attacks, an hour and a half before the attacks were over. She tells the American people it was a video inspired. She references that. She starts that narrative at 10:08 with Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty still on the roof of that annex fighting for their lives. That's the message we did. That's not partisan. That's about the facts.
Congressman Jim Jordan, thank you, sir.